Hey guys, JH556, glad to see you. Let me know if I'm 5 by 5, please. Good deal. We'll give it a few minutes and see if we can get some more people in. Definitely got a lot to go over today. I'm thinking about changing the time on this so maybe we can get more people in here. I'm trying to get my views and all up. And today I'm actually filming off my tablet. That way I'll have my phone so I can read the articles I've got for it. It's just easier than sitting down and typing them out. And my printer is still acting the fool. We'll give it to the 3-minute mark and then we'll start. And if y'all hear little feet running around and the dog's raising Cain, just overlook it. And we got a 2-year-old in the house, and we've got 4 dogs, 3 Chihuahuas, and a big old German Shepherd. And the Chihuahuas don't like the German Shepherd, even though he ain't nothing but a big old baby. Alright, let's dive into it. The other day I'd reported on a guy out in Texas standing up for the CRT, and he basically threatened the parents that had spoke out against the CRT. I'm not sure if we can discuss that on YouTube, so I tried to tiptoe around it. Oh, I've seriously thought about getting into that, but right now I'm not living in my own home. I'm living with my best friend and her fiance, as well as her nephew, her disabled stepson, and the 2-year-old, of course. So we kind of have to watch, especially with the disabled stepson. He got in a real bad wreck about 4 years ago, and he's not paralyzed, but his left foot is drawn up underneath him because when his mom had him, their their she didn't get the physical therapy and all that he needed. So we're going through the process of the physical therapy and trying to, you know, help him, get it straightened out so he can walk again. We really do. We really do. And the 2-year-old's mom is in and out. She's currently living with us again. And she's expecting another little boy come April. We're kind of excited about that. But in relation to that story, a Fort Worth grandmother reached out. Thank you, JH556. He really is a good kid. A Fort Worth grandmother reached out to the Dallas office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to report that what she described as a terrorist threat. At a school board meeting last week, a local father who supports the CRT had addressed anti-CRT protesters during a school board meeting and said, "I got over 1,000 soldiers ready to go before adding locked and loaded." I filed a report with the FBI office in Fort Worth, the grandmother said. She's a grandmother of two who was at the school board meeting on November 9th, told Fox News in an interview Tuesday it's their job to check on terrorism, and that was a terrorist threat. Honestly, I have to say it is a terrorist threat. The FBI is investigating parents, who are, standing up for their kids' rights. So why aren't they, checking up on the ones that, speak out on stuff like this? If it was us, they'd hand our butts to us. In the Fort Worth Independent School District Board meeting on November 9th, Austin turned to address the parents who had spoken up about CRT. For those who got an issue with this critical race theory equity, this is something I fight for my children, Austin, who is an African American, began. How dare you come out here and talk about things that my daddy, my grandparents went through, the lynching, the oppression, Jim Crow, and my kids are still being affected by this. After Austin's 1 minute to speak had ran out, officers came and escorted him out of the room. During this time, he shouted, "I'll bring my soldiers, and next time, locked and loaded." We really would. To me, it's the government dividing us by using race. It's not the white people, the black people, the Latinos, even though you have racist in every ethnic group, it's not us, it's the government. That's what the squadron chief ran on, was about race. He was going, unite us. He ain't done nothing but tear this country down. His poll numbers show him at 38%, and Witch in Heels, as I call her. I've called her worse, but the Witch in Heels is at 28%. That's the lowest poll numbers for a sitting president and vice president in history. And it's crazy. Holly Plemons, a stay-at-home mother of three who had spoken out against CRT, responded asking, "Did you just threaten me?" Austin repeated, "Locked and loaded." Plemons, let's see, wait a minute. I'm rereading the same thing there. Austin previously told Fox News that he was not threatening anyone. First Amendment rights, freedom of speech need to be implemented, Austin said. He really is. I mean, more and more every day I see, us looking more like that sea country over yonder. The other night when Squadron Chief and ZZ Ping, or however you say his name, done their virtual meeting, Biden in the past has claimed that he and Xi, or however you want to say it, um, were not familiar with each other really. It was all business. And Japan greeted Squadron Chief with "Hello, my old friend." And I mean, I watched part of the, you know, meeting. I didn't watch all of it because it was late and, well, I was tired. I'd done took my nighttime medicine. And, you know, Squadron Chief ain't done nothing but lie to us. We all know he's in, if I get a strike, I get a strike. He's in China's back pocket. He has been since he was vice president. But it's funny to me how they want to infringe on our freedom of speech until it's convenient for them. You know, why is it they can use their First Amendment rights, but we can't? when it he's he said, when it comes to locked and loaded, that's a term I use when I coach football. It means prepare and get ready. Austin compared opposition to critical race theory to racist Jim Crow policies of the past. He also claimed that CRT opponents in school board meetings said things that are inflammatory and inhumane to us African Americans. Austin compared opposition to CRT to, okay, wait a minute. I used to work in security at DFW Airport, so I know what is legally a terrorist threat, Myers told Fox News, referencing the 1,000 soldiers. She asked of Austin, is he training these men? Is he training them for attacks on Americans? Myers said she was in the meeting and she described Austin's words threatening to the whole room. She noted that her grandchildren are of mixed race. She condemned CRT, a framework that involves deconstructing aspects of society to discover excuse me, I can't pronounce that word. Systematic, there we go, racism beneath the surface as a danger to others. We cannot let terrorist threats go without being addressed, she insisted. We can't confirm investigations, but we take threats seriously, a spokesman for the FBI office in Dallas, which includes Fort Worth, told Fox News on Tuesday. Clemens told Fox News that she is not sold on the idea that Austin's remarks were not a threat. So I don't need to be worried about him coming to my home and shooting me up. Lock means when you are putting your cartridge into your clip, and loaded means you have a bullet in the chamber, Flemings said. They're right there. Hey Jeep, how are you? That right there shows you that he's basically going to get away with it. You know, that's just my opinion, but honestly believe they don't let this one slip through the boards. And that's not right. The House Freedom Caucus is calling on House Speaker, another witch in heels, to refuse to fund the executive branch over President, you know who, vaccine mandate. Squadron chief and administration officials on his behalf have issued multiple executive orders and directives mandating the 19 jabs under threat of retribution that will cause the loss of livelihoods and endanger Americans, the caucus said in a letter obtained by Fox News on Tuesday. I have a guy I've been seeing for about 3 years. He actually lives, you know, close to there. And, he and I have discussed it, and I'm honestly trying to talk him into moving to Georgia, even though I agree a lot with Texas governor. He's a pretty smart dude, and he's way better than Georgia governor. The lawmakers argued that Congress should move to block funding for the executive branch over orders pointing to Squadron Chief's orders requiring companies with over 100 employees to require the jab and mandating the jab for federal workers. The letter comes after a federal appeals court reaffirmed its stay on the workplace jab, ordering the U.S. Labor Department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration to take no steps to implement or enforce the jab until further court order. Hey, I don't blame you there. I grew up about 17 miles outside of a small town that I was actually born in, and I loved it out there. Grew up, on a red clay dirt road, right there on the banks of a creek. Is absolutely gorgeous. Next time I go out there, I have to, take some video of it and share it with y'all. As a matter of fact, the Crap Pits fan, that's where I will be going. I just recently acquired a camper. It's, one of those old ones with the slide out and all. And I will be putting it out there on my dad's property. And I've got to, do some renovations to it. Not a lot. But I'll be taking y'all along for that one. I do it. I like to try to share, little tidbits of my life. So, some of the creators don't do that, in which I respect that. It's a whole privacy thing. And with it being just me and my little chihuahua he just hit a year old the first of this month. So, of course, he'll be going with me. But what do y'all think about the House Republicans putting a stay on this order? I think that for once they're actually doing what's supposed to be done. Our Constitution states that nothing should be forced on us. As a matter of fact, it states that we have the right to stand up and to vacate the offices of this country. Excuse me. It's we the people, not them the people. As a matter of fact, when I have time, I want to sit down and do maybe a series on the Constitution, versus what we see going on today within our government. I actually have several ideas. I've contacted some content creators, and hopefully we'll get something going. That's true, JH. They really don't do their jobs the way they're supposed to. So, in his opening monologue on Tuesday, Sean Hannity warned that Squadron Chief appeared to be bested in a video conference meeting by China's communist leader Xi Jinping, and the situation does not bode well for Taiwan. If the CCP decides to attempt annexation by force of the island state it claims is a breakaway providence. Zhao referred to Squadron Chief as an old friend, a phrase Squadron Chief bristled at in June when asked by Fox News' Peter Doocy if he would consider Zai that kind of an acquaintance. I hear you, Cheap. I absolutely love the mountains. As a child, we used to go up to Cherokee, North Carolina for a whole week, every summer. And my mom is actually of Cherokee descent. And so, I wanted to learn about my family history. Um, as a matter of fact, my grandmother on my mom's side, her great great grandmother was actually in the hierarchy of her tribe. We have pictures within the family of her with a headdress on. And to me, that's amazing. My ancestry has been, that's awesome. JH, my ancestry has actually been traced all the way back to Pocahontas. And as a child growing up, we learn about Pocahontas in school. So, I was amazed by that. I love history, as y'all will come to find out. Uh, I will sit here and I will look up and I will study, history, anything to do with, the Bible, especially leaning towards the last days. I'm actually going to do a series on that, and I have contacted Just Josh about possibly, doing a live together concerning, what we're seeing in the news today compared to what we read in the Bible. There's a lot of comparisons. Um, I know Israel was reported last night as bombing Damascus, and as bad as I hate to say it, they're poking the bear. But we'll go deeper into that another day, because if I get started, we'll still be sitting here come midnight. Okay, let's see. Let's get something straight, Squadron Chief said. We know each other well. We're not old friends. It's just pure business. I seriously do not believe that. Hannity said Squadron Chief's call with Zai was unproductive and that the Delaware Democrat was seemingly bullied and strong armed on every issue. Squadron Chief never mentioned the origins of 19. He failed to address China's hostile activity in the Pacific Ocean, and he refused to stand up for Taiwan amid constant threats of forcible reunification. The host said, adding the normally friendly New York Times characterized the situation as little more than polite words. After the call, China pivoted from the diplomatic dialogue to verbally attacking the U.S. Beijing accused us of playing with fire over any tepid support of Taiwan, Hannity said. Communist China is a hostile actor with a malignant regime, but Squadron Chief is too pathetically weak and unable to hold China accountable for anything, he added. You too, Jeep. We'll see you later. Thank you for stopping by. Basically, his weakness guarantees Taiwan will be taken over by the Chinese, and Squadron Chief won't do a thing. Hannity also criticized Squadron Chief over a tepid reception he received at a rally in New Hampshire later on Tuesday, and also acquitted MSNBC pundit Stephanie Rahul for downplaying Americans' inflation concerns as it pertains to family budgets and the like. You know, I used to watch Fox News. You know, I thought that they were for us, not against us. But I've come to see that they're just as much in the back pocket of the government as, you know, CNN and MSNBC and whatnot. You know, but Hannity was right. I give the man props for that. So excuse me. Sokolka, Poland. Clashes erupted between stranded refugees and Polish border guards at the Polish-Belarusian border on early on Tuesday. According to Poland's Ministry of National Defense, MOD, refugees at the Kuznica border crossing trying to cross into Poland reportedly threw stones at Polish guards who responded by using water cannons and tear gas. The MOD said the migrants attacked our soldiers and guards with stones and are trying to force the fence to get to the Polish territory. Our forces used tear gas to thwart the aggressions of migrants. Marta, I'm not even going to attempt that last name, from Grupa Granica, a coalition of NGOs that are responding to the humanitarian crisis at the border, told Al Jazeera the use of force by Poland is completely unjustifiable because there are legal procedures which should be used from the very beginning. The actions of the Polish forces are not only illegal but also inhumane. The Polish border guard said illegal immigrants have been gathering at the border crossing in Kuznica at the Belarusian side. New groups which so far have been squatting at the borders are joining them. An attempt to forcefully cross the border is being prepared. Everything is taking place under the supervision of Belarusian forces. Earlier on Tuesday, more Polish police and security forces arrived at the border to prevent what Polish authorities claim was an attempt by refugees to illegally cross into Polish and European Union territory. Video footage was posted on social media showing people near the border running away after being sprayed with a water cannon. The situation appeared calmer by the afternoon. Thousands of refugees are trapped in no man's land between the Polish and Belarusian borders as a result of an east-west geopolitical crisis involving Warsaw and its allies and Minsk and Moscow. Anytime Moscow's involved is a bad thing in my opinion. But, you know, that's just me. According to international law, people seeking asylum have the right to claim it at official border crossings. However, Polish border guards have been denying that right to many who have attempted to cross the border. Since the crisis unfolded in August, Polish guards have reportedly been pushing back people who managed to cross into Polish territory from Belarus. Many refugees are spending weeks in the woodlands at the border trying to leave the border zone and seek asylum. Personally, I think the Poland crisis is a distraction. It's been noted that, you know, uh, Russian President Putin is good friends with the Belarus president, and the immigrants is being pushed through by not only Belarus, but Russia as well. I'm not saying that we shouldn't keep an eye on it, but it's one of those things, you're watching the right hand while the left hand's doing something else. Okay. At least 3 people have been killed and 33 others wounded in twin suicide bombings in Uganda's capital, Kampala, police said, the latest in a string of attacks over the past month. The attacks took place within 3 minutes of each other on Tuesday and were carried out by 3 suicide bombers. Police spokesman Fred Nga told in a news conference. One of the explosions was on a street near the Parliament building and the other near a police station. The explosion near Parliament appeared to hit closer to a building housing an insurance company, and the subsequent fire engulfed cars parked outside. Bloodied police officers scrambled for cover over shards of broken glass as a plume of white smoke rose above the central area. Body parts were seen scattered in the street, and later some politicians were seen evacuating the parliamentary building nearby. A single suicide bomber carried out the blast near the checkpoint at the police station, which killed 2 people. Nganga said the 2 suicide bombers on motorbikes detonated, killing one other person. A possible attack on a third target was foiled by police, who pursued, disarmed a suspect suicide bomber, and Nganga said. I'm looking. United States President Squadron Chief and Chinese President Xi Jinping talked about how to harmonize their positions in the resumption of negotiation. It really is, JH. I mean, it's part of history. They always trying to distract us from seeing what's truly going on. I'm 42 years old, and I remember it happening with the Gulf War, and then with Afghanistan and uh 911, and stuff like that. Xi Jinping and Squadron Chief talked about how to harmonize their positions in the resumption of negotiations with Iran on receiving the 2015 nuclear deal, a top U.S. official said on Tuesday. Officials from Iran and 6 nations that struck the pact, the United Kingdom, China, France, Germany, Russia, and the U.S., will meet in Vienna on November 29th to see if Tehran and Washington can agree to renew indirect talks on the UN recognized agreement under which Iran curbed its nuclear program to gain relief from Western economic situations. The 2 presidents had the chance to talk about how we can align our perspectives heading into that meeting. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told a virtual audience in a web event hosted by the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. The Iran nuclear talks were just one of a range of issues confronting the U.S. and China that Biden and Xi discussed in 3.5 hours on November 15th, in the most in-depth exchange since Biden took office as president in January. The 2 covered tensions in Taiwan, strategic nuclear controls, and global economic issues. On Iran, former President, T-Man, had unilaterally withdrawn the U.S. from the UN recognized pact in 2018. To my notion, he done the right thing because the previous administration, it's been documented that the previous administration paid Iran. They basically funded Iran being where they are today with U.S. tax-based money. Let's see. Britain's defense minister Ben Wallace met with the Ukrainian president on a visit to Kyiv on Tuesday, a show of support at a time when Ukraine and NATO countries have expressed concern about Russian troop movements near Ukraine borders. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government this week have voiced Britain's unwavering support for Ukraine and said it would back Kyiv in the face of Russian hostility while opposing the construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. In a statement after the meeting, Zelensky welcomed a framework agreement to use British financing to enhance Ukraine's naval capabilities, allowing Ukraine to buy missiles, build missile ships, and a Navy base on the Sea of Azov. The United Kingdom has become our key partner in building the Ukrainian fleet, Zelensky said, according to a statement on the presidential website. Ukraine and NATO countries have expressed concerns about Russian troop movements near Ukraine's border. Moscow, in turn, accused Ukraine, the U.S., and allies of destabilizing behavior, including the Black Sea. The U.S. believes that, they can police the world, but I honestly believe Russia, does everything they can to destabilize, world relations. Thousands of people have taken part in protests against last month's coup in Sudan, with security forces shooting dead at least 10 people and wounding dozens of others, medics said. Protesters marched in neighborhoods across the capital, Khartoum, and its twin cities of Bahar and Omdurman on Wednesday as security forces fired live bullets and tear gas after mobile phone communications were cut earlier in the day. The Central Committee of Sudanese Doctors, CCSD, an independent union of medics, said 10 people were killed by security forces. The coup forces used live bullets heavily in different areas of the capital, and there are tens of gunshot injuries, some of them in serious condition, it said in a statement. Five suspected rebels have been killed by Indian forces in the southern district Indian administered Kashmir, a day after a gunfight in the region triggered protests following allegations of civilians being used as human shields by Indian armed forces. The five were killed in two separate operations in Kulgam district on Wednesday. Police officials said that after a tip-off about the presence of rebels in Palm Bay and I can't pronounce that name. Sorry. Villages in South Kashmir, a cordon was laid by the armed forces ensuing into a gun battle. Officials said 2 rebels were killed in that village. One of those slain was identified as Afweek Sikandar, the commander of newly surfaced the resistant group, TRF, an armed group that officials have said is behind the recent spate of targeted killings of migrants and Hindus in the region. In a separate gun battle in Pombay village, officials said that 3 rebels were killed. Tensions have been high in Indian administrated Kashmir since Monday, when officials claimed that 2 suspected rebels were killed in Hyderpura, locality in the region's main city of Srinagar. 2 civilians were also killed in the crossfire. Witnesses and families of those killed have disputed police claims. At least 2 families alleged that those killed were used as human shields by the Indian forces. Can you imagine, being, now whether it's true or not that they were used as human shields, I have no clue. But could you imagine being used as a human shield by those that are supposed to protect you? It's pretty messed up. In which I'm sure I could get more info on that. I have friends who, moved here from India. It really is, JH. I mean, here we're sitting is what was once, one of the most predominant countries in the world, and sometimes we forget what it's like for other countries of the world. Hackers linked to the Iranian government have been targeting a broad range of victims inside the U.S., including by deploying ransomware, according to an advisory issued Wednesday by American, British, and Australian officials. The advisory says that in recent months, Iran has exploited computer vulnerabilities exposed by hackers before they can be fixed and targeted entities in the transportation, healthcare, and public health sectors. The attackers leveraged the initial hack for additional operations, such as data I'm getting tongue tied. We have, JH, we really and truly have. And target entities in the transportation, healthcare, and public health sectors. The attackers leveraged the initial hack for additional operations such as data, ransomware, and extortion. According to the advisory, the group has used the same Microsoft Exchange vulnerability in Australia, officials say. The warning is notable because even though ransomware attacks remain prevalent in the U.S., most of the significant ones in the past year have been attributed to Russia-based criminal hacker gangs rather than Iranian hackers. Everything in the U.S. is ran by a computer. Our banks, our power grids, our nuclear facilities, not to mention, water, our basic needs and whatnot. Our grocery stores and supply chains is ran by computers. All it takes is them typing, hacking into, excuse me, a power substation and bringing it offline, and that would cause a chain reaction. There would go our whole power grid, and that would cause, the transformers and all to blow. And do you know where we get our transformers from? They're not made in the US. You know, they're made in China, which a lot of our stuff is made in China. And this is involving the Microsoft billionaire. An advanced nuclear power venture founded by Microsoft billionaire BG said on Tuesday it has chosen a town in Wyoming as the site to build a $4 billion demonstration plant that will get half its funding from the U.S. government. TerraPower's Natrium plant will be built in Kemmerer, a remote western Wyoming town where the Naughton coal plant is due to shut down in 2025. Pending permits, the 345 megawatt plant will open in 2028, which is the timeline mandated by Congress. The project will get about $1.9 billion from the federal government, including $1.5 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure bill that President Squadron Chief signed this week. The bill included about $2.5 billion for advanced nuclear reactors. It is a very serious government grant, said Chris Levisk, President and CEO of TerraPower, which is partnering with GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy. This was necessary because the U.S. government and the U.S. nuclear industry was falling behind. The United States has been competing with China and Russia, which also hope to build advanced reactors and export them. Advanced reactors are expected to be smaller than traditional ones and theoretically be built in remote locations. The Natrium reactor would be fueled by uranium enriched up to 20%, a far higher level than today's fuel. I agree. They really do. Here we are talking about, BG. And a lot of people don't realize that, when he retired from Microsoft, he apparently, without a PhD or whatever, degree it is for scientists, has become a scientist. He had his hand in the lab overseas. And, when T-Man was elected as president, BG said that T-Man would not be able to withstand an epidemic. Lo and behold, epidemic happened. There's been several things that BG has, quote unquote, predicted, that has come true. Okay, this is one of the richest men in the world. We would be stupid not, to think that he couldn't make things happen, for lack of a better way of putting it. For some reason, I have never, ever trusted this man. I don't know why. It's just been a gut feeling. Hello, Fortunate. How are you? He really is. I honestly believe that. He's always gave off that aura. Hey, Mark, how are you? Glad to see you and Fortunate both. Glad to hear, Fortunate. And, you know, he's just had his fingers in too much stuff, you know, and that has me worried more than anything. You know, I watched the whole Travis Scott debacle, and I have my own personal beliefs on that one. It's okay, Mark. No problem. This is actually the longest live I have done to date. I had a whole bunch of news articles to go through and share with y'all. And so we still going live. I'm glad to see y'all. This is actually the most that I've had in chat as well. So you guys are awesome. Really appreciate you. Um, and I wanted to touch on the EWPN series that Tribe and Native and Just Josh and POCB has going. You know, guys, it's an awesome idea. It really is. And they're reaching out to the community, you know, offering, you know, help, you know, and whatnot. Um, you know, I'm all for it. If they need help, you know, I'll be more than glad to step in, you know, whether it's sending them news articles or it really is, Mark, or, you know, stepping up and, you know, doing a lot, you know, a couple of videos on news articles or, you know, collaborating with the other creators on panels or, you know, live suggestions or going live with them. You know, yeah, I'm a small channel. I have 39 subscribers, you know, but, you know, we all started out somewhere, you know, and to me, it's awesome that Tribe came up on his 1 year anniversary yesterday. I can't imagine being on YouTube for a year, you know, doing this. I'm really looking forward to it, you know, and I have some ideas coming down the line. So y'all bear with me. In between my 3 days a week, you know, I will be doing videos like I did yesterday, you know, walkthrough of Walmart. Like I said, my town's between 10 and 15,000, I think it is. It really is. I'm looking forward to that tomorrow night. I'm actually hoping to, you know, record some of it. I honestly cannot wait. I love, you know, the nighttime sky. My mom, God rest her soul, who died back in 2001, she was obsessed with, you know, the moon and the stars and the constellations and whatnot. So, you know, myself and my cousins and all, you know, we're pretty big on it. And my oldest daughter, who is 23, she absolutely reminds me of my mom so much. Luckily, my oldest daughter, you know, got 4 wonderful years with my mom. So, my mom thought there was nothing better than my daughter. But, you know, so y'all, you know, keep a lookout. Y'all let me know what y'all would like to see content wise. And, you know, leave below in the comments, you know, what time y'all would think would be better than 5 o'clock in the evening. Um, you know, because I'm hoping to get more people in here, you know, and us chat. You know, I like to interact with people. You know, I'm sure y'all have seen that on, you know, other people's lives that I go on. Um, you know, out here, you know, off YouTube, I am a very reserved person. You know, very quiet. I'll sit back in the corner and I'll watch people. And to start with, I did that. You know, I'd be in chats watching under, you know, my real name YouTube channel. But now that I've, made this channel, I go in as Georgia Peach. I was watching OTWP this morning. Well, it was actually this afternoon, but I watched his morning show, and YouTube is coming after the P word. So now I've got to come up with, a new name. Maybe I'll do GPP, or just Georgia Peach P. Something like that. Because I want to keep my Georgia Peach. Because it does represent, my home state. But I'm going to go ahead and end it. Well, we got about 5 minutes. We'll hang out another, 4 minutes. That way we'll make it an even hour. So what's some things y'all would like to see? Or any changes y'all think that I might need to make? I'm open to constructive criticism. I'm a writer by nature. They really are, JH. They censor us worse than anything. Local news is good. I hear you. We actually don't have a lot that goes on in my small town. There's, of course, drug bust and whatnot, but I do try to maintain, a lot of things going on in the United States, over what's going on worldwide. But with so many people doing news, it is hard to, find stuff that other creators haven't done. Yeah, we all have varying opinions and whatnot, but I don't want to step on nobody's toes. Hey, Jeff, I missed you. How are you? But, we all have opinions and whatnot, so y'all make sure y'all keep out, an eye for the EWPN. Let's support, all our content creators. Content, not contracts. But let's support each other. Y'all find stuff y'all want to see, put on here, email it to me, sweetgeorgiapeach0079 at gmail.com. It's also in the about section up top. I'm open to it. And like I said, I'm hoping to hear back from Just Josh on, my idea for us to go live together. I will be contacting some of the other creators, and see if maybe we can collab on something. So, in the Bible, it does talk about, signs in the heavens. And look at everything we've had, happen in. You're welcome, Mark. Look at everything we've had to happen in the skies this year. He really is. I love Josh. He actually, reached out to me, about us collabing on stuff. And, I'm always down for something like that. My daughter and my son-in-law and I are actually working on an idea. We're going to kind of do like a little mini movie. So y'all be looking for that. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to. He really is. And he has a different perspective from a lot of content creators. And, that's something that I respect. And everybody's lives that I go in, has different perspectives. We're human beings, so of course we all have our own opinions and whatnot. It really is, especially when he comes in, fam, it kind of pumps everything up. But all right, guys, we've hit the hour mark. There really is, and I love to write and I love to be creative. And my daughter and son-in-law is the same way. My son-in-law is actually going to do a green screen for me. So I look a little more professional instead of the brown wall and the white ceiling behind me. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off. You guys have a good night. I'm sure I'll see y'all out there on streams. Ghost comes up at 7:30, I think, if he's feeling better. So y'all have a good evening, and I'll see y'all later.